Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I am Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorous Magazine, and I'm so happy to have today's guests on. They are some very funny humorists who have put out a very funny book at just the right political moment in time. It's called Red Tie, Blue Tie, How to Tell Whether Someone is Liberal or Conservative in Any Possible Scenario. And I'm happy to have them here today, Gary Almeter and Reese Cassard. Welcome, guys. Hi, how are you? What's happening? Reese, did I say your last name right?
You nailed it.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. I'm very happy.
We're off to a great start.
Thanks, Marty. It's great to be here.
That didn't sound forced at all, Gary. I love it. I love the energy you're bringing. Gary's in Baltimore. Reese is in Denver, Colorado. I am currently in San Diego, California. But it's like we're all just sitting in the same room here on Talkward. And you guys have a book that you want to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about this political, hilarious book, Red Tie, Blue Tie. Look at that cover. It's beautiful, folks. It's beautiful.
That's all to you.
Yeah, thanks, Marty.
No problem. It's pretty basic. I just did exactly what the book's name was. It's not that creative, but it looks pretty good.
I didn't even make that connection. Holy cow.
The part of the cover that really is great is the annoying border that you guys insisted on. I do love the border. I think it looks wonderful, and it actually made the cover 1,000% better.
That was the hill we were ready to die on.
I know it was. I think we actually have an option for chat. So if people are watching on the many different platforms of social media that exist today, you can chat with us. If you, I think, leave a comment under the live video, I will see it and I can put it on the screen and we can interact with you and make you feel special and seen, which is what we want here at Talkward. The book, Red Tie, Blue Tie, came out at the beginning of July. It was before. It's funny because we're like, oh, we got to get this book out because there's going to be a debate, and then we want to get, really ride the coattails of the Biden-Trump debate thing, and then we got the book out, and then it's like everything in the political schedule just exploded, and it just like turned into this insanity that no one saw coming at all, it's just so funny that we were like, oh, we got to get this book out for the Biden-Trump debate, and then just everything fell apart, and now everything's different, and it's wild. What do you guys think about everything that's happening with the world of politics now since this book? Obviously, this book was the disruptor that caused all of it. I don't want to take all the credit for the book, but I think the book that you guys wrote was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back to I think Biden read the book and he was like, I got to get out. I got to make way for a younger generation. And that's kind of what happened. What do you guys think?
I feel guilt about it, honestly. The only thing about the book that kept me up at night is I was like, are we just fanning the flames of the culture wars? Like, at the end of the day, Gary and I just wanted people to smile and laugh. And my fear was like, what if they don't? What if that just piss people off more? And like 3 days after the book came out, someone tried to kill Trump. And I was like,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
It happened. And it's my fault. Because that's where my ego goes.
You were making little jokes.
Yeah.
Making little jokes.
The power of the word.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, like, when you were talking about all, the upheaval and the tumult that's been going on, like, the assassination attempt was like the last thing on my mind. I was like, oh yeah, that happened too. It was.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I kind of forgot that happened too, which is amazing because, like, what has happened to our brains? Because it's just like you do a pull down on Instagram and it reloads, and it's almost like it's resetting your brain to the next bunch of stuff that they shove in your eyes, and then you scroll up and you're like, oh, there's this. Oh, there's this. And that was so long ago now, doesn't even register, and that's insane.
It's crazy too, because I think we felt prepared. We know politics is unpredictable and changes fast. And so when Gary and I were writing this, we wanted to make sure we didn't do anything that was too topical. And then when it came to the editing stage, you and Brian did a great job finding the places where we might have dropped the ball there and getting things out. And then immediately it changed in ways that were way more dramatic than we thought.
Yeah.
The Biden jokes, thankfully we didn't put too many in there, but those are gone now.
Those were gone. And isn't it interesting? I mean, you guys are political people, obviously. You wrote an entire political book, so you've been following the politics of everything. But I want to say maybe 6 months ago or more, people were talking about, Biden's going to drop out and it's going to be somebody else. They're going to replace him. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, conspiracy nut.
Right.
And they're like, no. It's going to happen. He's not going to be in. He's not going to be the nominee. And everyone's like, he's obviously going to be the nominee, idiot. They can't possibly put somebody else in. And it happened. And you're kind of like, I can't believe that nut was right. What else am I wrong about these people? Because it did happen. And there was a machine behind, the suggestion. And finally, I mean, the debate was definitely the thing that caused the catalyst that caused everything to actually happen. But
Unless
Mm.
I felt something on July 21st, the date about the Sunday afternoon that Biden announced he sent that letter on Sunday afternoon. I felt something, and I was teetering on the point of anger towards him, a little bit of confusion about like, why the ego, Joe, but I mean, he dropped out or, decided not to run again. And there was just this overwhelming sense of reverence and just like, wow, like we're in the midst of a great, great man here. And then I was like, I wonder if Joe had this planned all along. Like I wonder if he, if I'm going to bomb the debate, I'm going to let them just, like go crazy. They're going to have their convention, which I think is kind of big for like, points and stuff. And then, so who knows? I mean, you don't get to be the president of the United States without having some political savvy, So.
True. I mean, I think for some reason I thought when Biden first ran, he was, and maybe it was reported that he said he would only go for one term. And maybe that was like something that didn't get much traction at the time. But I'm pretty sure I heard that he said he was only going to do it as a bridge. And then later that kind of stopped being talked about. And then I thought if they were going to have him drop out, he was just going to step down and then she would be president for at least a little bit. And then it would be easier for her to win. I'm not a political analyst. I wouldn't know the tactics of that, but it does sound sort of Veep, the TV show-esque, which feels like the kind of waters we're dipping our toes in anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The sixth season of Veep had a whole different. It was like it wasn't. I mean, I can't say it wasn't funny, but it wasn't fun anymore.
Well, that's because they had to start getting so insane because what was happening in reality was crazier than the comedy that was in the first couple of seasons of Veep, right? So, and then in many shows that were politically driven dramas weren't insane enough after Trump had been president, right? So, like House of Cards seemed quaint after the Trump administration. You're kind of like, like I think crazier shit's happening every day, and it's like not even a big, like no one even seems to give a shit. And then so when Veep had to do its last season, it was like they had to like do the most insane things to get a rise out of people to make it seem elevated. It wasn't, instead of just being like normal.
Yeah.
But
it was like House of Cards is the new Murder, She Wrote. It was like, Kevin Spacey's the new Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, I was like, oh, how quaint.
Yeah, this is fun.
That seems fine. So you both have the book is out. It's got so much fun. I had something I wanted to read just the summary so people understood what the book was about. And I had the summary up. We have 13 live viewers. Hello, live viewers. It's so nice. This will be a podcast that people can listen to on their own leisure time and a video people can watch while they're on the toilet. But the people that are here live, you're my favorite listeners.
Thanks for
You
joining
make it
us.
worth it. No one's writing anything because they're all bots, I guess. But I like to believe that you're important people out there. During these tense times and across an ever increasingly political polarized nation, it's just too hard to identify exactly who your friends are and who out there are your bitter adversaries, Democrat or Republican, progressive or conservative. And I just had a pop-up on my screen that covered up the words. God, go away, Facebook. What's a person to do? Fortunately, there are telltale signs that can be used to determine with 100% success rate a stranger's political affiliation. All these factors and more are detailed in Red Tie, Blue Tie, How to Tell if Someone is Liberal or Conservative in Any Possible Scenario in this extremely witty, hilarious, and eerily astute book. Humorists and self-proclaimed political scientists Gary M. Almeter and Reese Cassard will equip you with the sociological tools necessary to keep your allies close and your enemies at a comfortable distance. And that is the book summary. Thank you, everybody. It's available now on Amazon and in bookstores. If you want your bookstore to carry this book, you can go to them and they can order it through their bookstore order process and put it right up front by the register because it's a great gift. It's a very funny book. And it also explains the political leanings of popular animals, which is my favorite part of the book.
Shout out to Gary. That was a Gary special.
How did you decide which animals were conservative and progressive, Gary?
Well, I think, and I think I say this, Reese spent a lot of time at the zoo. And, he would do things like, open a thing of tofu and see which animals, were repelled and which animals, he would, play Kid Rock, see which animals, bounce their heads and, just that kind of stuff. So that was all Reese. Yeah, he did the field research on that. So
you actually have notebooks of copious notes that you took in this zoological study.
Yeah, until they kick me out of Denver Zoo, you can only take detailed notes and scribble like a madman for so long there. They're like, sir, you've been here for 3 days straight. What are you planning?
But there were some that was definitely concerned. Like the turtle. I mean, not only is it the spitting image of Mitch McConnell and, probably, it's his forebears, but just sticks to itself, is kind of, stays in its shell all day.
Yeah, the idea of built-in protection is very conservative.
Yeah.
Something that stuck out in the book was how to tell if someone is liberal or conservative while trying to solve the JonBenet Ramsey case, which is a pretty random callback. How did you decide?
Really?
No?
Huh.
You don't talk about that with your friends every day?
No, not really. Maybe some people do.
I think the title of the book is In Every Possible Scenario, not just the scenarios that you like, Marty. So
that's true.
Yeah,
it's true. And how did you decipher in that specific one? Let me see. I have some of the answers right here. If someone thinks both of JonBenet's parents are responsible for the murder, that person is a liberal. If someone thinks an unknown intruder is responsible for the murder of JonBenet, that person is a conservative. If someone thinks JonBenet's brother,
that's kind of self-explanatory, right, Reese?
That
person is a patriarchal fundamentalist. This is very specific. I enjoy how in the weeds you guys get with literally every part of this book. How to tell if someone is liberal or conservative by the scent they leave in their wake. And then we go through, lavender, jasmine, lilac, gardenia. Lilac, conservative. I had no idea. It's nostalgic, holds onto memories of spring. It's very romantic. Cherry blossoms, conservative. Violet, liberal. Orchid, conservative. Lily of the Valley, liberal. With a deep analysis for each one. This book is wonderful and very verbose. How to tell whether someone is liberal or conservative at a cookout. If the grill is gas, it's liberal. If the grill is charcoal, conservative. What if they are burning pieces of wood furniture that have been discarded? Are they just a college kid in Syracuse who didn't feel like buying either of those things? Because that's what I did. We
I think-
chopped up a chair in the basement, and that's what we used in our gas grill.
How did it taste?
It tasted like I shouldn't have used that wood because it had like varnish on it,
Yeah.
and
Tastes
it was like we shouldn't have used that wood. I think that was a quote from after we were eating the food. It was, "Hey guys, we shouldn't have used that wood." Gary, your son is going to Syracuse. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, he'll be a sophomore. He goes back Saturday, August 24th.
That's a good place, that Syracuse. I'm a fan.
It sure is. It sure is. He's not in Day. He lived in Day, which is he lived on the
dorm.
6th floor. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on day 2 my freshman year. Day 2.
Okay.
People would
So
give us a lot
you
of.
have to take the stairs.
Oh yeah, the stairs.
Yeah.
There's so many stairs going up to Day, and then on the back there's something we call the drunk stairs, which is a smaller set of old rickety stairs that go up the back of Mount Olympus, which is the name of the mountain. And it's like what people would get murdered on in like a slasher movie. Like, why would you go back there? There's no light. It's like these old wooden stairs that go up this very high place. And that's what you would go up if you were too drunk to go up the main stairs. So many stairs. The drunk stairs, much fewer stairs, but much more steep and dangerous. And that's where you would go at 3 a.m, very intoxicated with your friends. You go up the drunk stairs. You'd end up taking so much longer to get up it would always be a good idea at the time. And then you're like, God, it took us forever to get up the stairs. Because people would be like, they'd stop or they'd be like vomiting. It was a mess. College. It was good times.
Yeah.
Good times, great oldies in college. Reese, where did you go to school? Did they have drunk stairs there?
I went to the St. Mary's College of Maryland, a small
that's right.
school along the St. Mary's River. I love that place. It wasn't a very vertical campus. There weren't many stairs in general anywhere, but it was pretty sprawled out.
It was a vertical campus.
And there were definitely plenty of places that we enjoyed hanging out. And then when you tell the story years later to a normal person, they're like, why was the graveyard a fun place to drink? Things like that. So again, I think when you're young and dumb and drinking, having fun, the weird ideas are the appealing one. And that's why you miss that as you get older.
Was there a specific grave you guys hung out by? Like there was a person's name and you're like, we like hanging out by, Ebenezer von Stratford.
Some of them were pretty and, had the like small Washington Monument style. So you could, sit and lean against them, which was nice. But the main reason you would go there, St. Mary's was the original capital of Maryland, fun fact, old colonial town. And they have a full-scale replica of the Ark and the Dove, the two ships that brought the first colonists to Maryland. And to get to those, you have to walk through the graveyard. And the ships, those were the only place in St. Mary's with good security. We're protecting those ships. But hanging out by the docks there was a great time to drink after sunset. So.
I love Maryland. Gary, you're in Maryland. I grew up outside of Annapolis, and everything in Maryland's great. I think people don't know about Maryland, and all of it is named after like the Calverts, like the people that like Lord Baltimore. Like every part of Maryland is just named after some guy in a family or like the woman in the family. All of it, Queen Anne's County, like all of it is just like this. Not huge families. Everyone got a county. And that's how they split it up. And it's everywhere.
Maryland's wonderful. I grew up there too, and not moving back anytime too, but I have fond memories of it. And it's also crazy because so many people from Maryland are out here in Denver now. My first year here, I'd meet someone from very far away and talk their ears off. And now, I'll be on a ski lift with someone who also grew up in my hometown. And it's like, all right, cool, man. Have a good day.
You're in Denver, Reese? Colorado.
Oh, why? Conversation slowed down more just because I've exhausted it. It's less surprising. The first time you're like, no way someone else from Maryland would move out here. I thought I'm so unique. And then you're like, wait, everyone, not just from Maryland, but from both coasts are flooding Colorado. So what I'm trying to say is I'm the problem.
Yes, yes. And how come people like Colorado so much? What's happening in Colorado?
I think right now the cliche is, people want to find themselves and or love nature. It's so beautiful out there, and you get 300 days of sun, and you can, I love skiing, I love hiking, I love camping, and the access to it is wonderful. You can technically do all the three of those things in Maryland, but the size and scale isn't the same, and the variety isn't the same.
But you guys don't have any. There's no beaches. So are there lakes that feel like beaches?
There are big lakes. There are beautiful bodies of water, but you literally have to hike up to them. There isn't the same. Let's take the car down the ocean, grab our chairs, and walk 2 blocks, and now you're on this beautiful beach with the crashing shores. You're hiking.
You gotta go down to the ocean, hon. You gotta go down to the shore.
Yeah. You're going a good 1,500 feet up to swim around in a freezing lake, but that's refreshing too in these hot summers.
Does skiing replicate, like, aside from the obvious that it's in winter versus summer, that, you're packing anoraks as opposed to Speedos, but does skiing replace the whole beach thing? Like the act of finding a place to stay for a week and going outside and then coming inside and,
that camaraderie is definitely real. When you get a good crew and rent a place, you're just as excited for the ski trip as you are for the beach trip. And, the weekend warriors who drive to the beach and brave the traffic on the Bay Bridge is very similar to people who get up early and brave skiing traffic. The biggest difference, though, is skiing's hard and physically demanding. Once you get there, then the fun begins, but also, you get to work and you're really tired afterwards. Whereas the beach is, I love it, but it's relaxing. It's not the same. Your legs aren't sore after a good day at the beach.
Skiing is just the entire time you're just trying not to die. That's what exhausts me about skiing. You're just like at the top of a mountain, and then you're like, okay, here we go. Now I get to spend all of this time trying not to die until I get to the bottom of the mountain, and then I get to go up to the top and do it all over again.
Yeah, and the catch is the closer you get to death, the more fun it is. So it's like, how do you teeter that line?
That might be just a specific character thing that you have, Reese, that I do not have.
Yes, I might call that a flaw.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a flaw. Just I think I'm not a cold person. I think because I went skiing so much as a child in Maryland, we would always go to Camelback, we'd go to Liberty, we'd go to Hidden Valley, we'd go to all these places, and I skied, and it would be icy, and I would almost die or break my. I remember thinking, I am going so fast. If I fall, I am going to break one of my legs. So I better not fall. So I'd just be like, ah! And I was like 13 or 12 or 8.
I grew up on the East Coast too. It wasn't like brand new to me when I moved out here. And it is, those East Coast mountains are narrower and slicker and harder.
Yeah, they're icy. I think when you get out there, it's probably softer and more fun. The powder, as they call it.
You get it.
I get it. Do you do the snowboarding?
We watch court TV. Like, we get it. We know what it's like to lose half a day of skiing, don't we?
What?
the people get crashed into.
Oh yeah.
Justice. That's what all the billboards say. If you like the ambulance chasers for in cities, it's usually buses. The billboards for skiing is ValeJustice.com is how you get your comp.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the book and how you guys came up with it and why you wrote it and how you write together as a writing team, especially since you're in different cities. How did you guys get to be friends and humor writing partners?
Oh man, should I start or should you start, Gary? I can start.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I was working at an ad agency, a different one than the one I'm at now. And I remember for always reading McSweeney's and looking up to it, and Weekly Humorist and Points and Case and Shouts and Murmurs, all the classic, prose humor sites. And at first I just read them when I was bored at work and loved to laugh. And then I realized all of these sites you can submit to. So then I would try and failed for like 2 years. And it was discouraging, but there was like kind of this thing, so many of the humorists are professionals. You know, you'd read their bios and, you know, so-and-so writes for the Tonight Show and lives in New York City. And there's a lot of that. But there was this guy who kept popping up named Gary Almeter, and his bio was Gary lives in Baltimore, which was unique. And I was living in Baltimore at the time. And also Gary's an attorney. So it's like, oh, he has a day job and does this on the side. So in one strange moment, I gathered the courage and boredom to email Gary and just, you know, ask for advice. You know, how are you so funny? How do you write these things? Do you have any tips for me? And I didn't think he would respond. And instead he responded, and we've had like a 5-year email friendship where we talk about life, but most of it is, you know, working on things separately. Usually, you know, is this funny? What could change? Where should I send this? And then finally we started writing things together, and that's where the magic really started to happen, if you will. Did I get it right, Gary? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's perfect.
That's nice. You guys are comedy friends.
Yeah.
He asked you for advice. You know, I run this comedy company. No one emails me and asks me for advice. They don't care. They just send stuff in to me, and it's like, dear reductress, would you like this piece? And I'm like, I think you sent this to 9 other places first. You could at least change the name. Just kidding. No, that definitely happens all the time. But you guys write art. Have you guys written a lot of humor stuff that's been published in McSweeney's together?
So the only thing we've written together that's been published in McSweeney's was the original How to Tell Whether Someone's Liberal or Conservative. That was the genesis of this book, if you will. And we thought that would just be a fun one-off thing. It wasn't even a wild time in politics as far as our standard for politics goes. You know, it was like winter of 21, I believe, 22. Anyways, that did pretty well. You know, that stood on the, you know, trending articles on the side of their page for a week or so. And on top of it doing well, we just had so much fun doing it. And it was actually Gary's idea a year or so later, you know, hey, we could do more with this. And an election year is coming up. Like it has so many more legs, if you will. So then Gary did a great job shopping it around, and we got so lucky to get approved by you guys, and the rest is history.
I know. We don't.
We
just
sent it
take
to
anybody.
Reductress. We sent it to Reductress first.
Yeah,
and they said no.
Humorist.
As you should. As you should. Well, I'm glad you guys sent it to us over at Humorist Books. Brian Boone was very excited. He is the editor at Humorist Books, and he was like, well, this is a no-brainer. It's always easy when we get something like what you guys sent in, where it's like, we got to get this published immediately. Like, this is an easy thing that we don't have to do any work on. It's all done. And yeah, it was great. It's a great book. I've given it to lots of people who have all loved it, and it's something that you can just kind of flip through and find jokes. Like, you don't have to read it start to finish. You can do it in the middle. You can kind of just find little things. And you know, I would flip through and I just like announce something the way I did on the podcast. You just kind of find a section that's funny and just read it out loud. And it's so specific. The thing about what you guys do and and even just how you guys write, you're just very specific. You're very thorough. And that's similar to, you know, your other book, Gary, the Dream Dinner Party handbook. So specific. You know, you go down a rabbit hole of just like detail, you know, humor in so many details and so many jokes. A writer, an old writer friend of mine, Steve Kerper, would call it comedic density. That's what he would always say about, you know, some really funny stuff earlier on. I think maybe before it was a magazine called Army Man. You guys ever hear of this? Oh, this was like a legendary. This was like, you got to look this up. This is a legendary, very small run humor magazine called Army Man, and it had like Jack Handy. It had like old school SNL guys before they were SNL guys, and it was just like so full of jokes. It was just this insanely packed full of jokes. It and it would be called comedic density. And that's what I think this book is. It's just like so many jokes, you know. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to try a couple of things and that's like what this book is. This book is just full of stuff, you know. And
Well, it's interesting you say that, Marty, because and Reese said this. Like, it's actually just one joke told 1,000 different times.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's and the joke is, you know, and it's like, what do you like when we talk about identity politics? Like what's your identity, you know?
Mhm.
Or is it your career? Is it what you drive? Is it, you know, your hobbies? Is it what the kind of beer you drink? Is it the color of your skin? Is it, you know, the whatever it is, you know? It's like, okay, and it's I mean, identity yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just chiming in. You're good.
And the you know, and there's outliers, you know, like that Thiel guy, you know, a gay conservative, you know, and it's like, oh, like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just, you know, there's all these things we say without knowing we say them, but then there's also things like we're not trying to say anything. We just like to play golf, you know. I just like burgers, you know, with the charcoal essence, you know. It's so
not everything is a point to lead somewhere else, you know. I feel like we always look for little things now. I mean, a lot of the Trump supporters say a lot of things that they would call dog whistles, but not everything has to be a dog whistle. Things can just be like, well, I like this. I like this. I like an apple. Well, if you like this, that means then that means that you're this.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, not necessarily. And this book is definitely something that it kind of goes through. Maybe they're more subtle. They're subtle dog whistles that maybe you hadn't heard of before. And now they're everywhere. And you can read this book and identify every little thing about somebody that will make you. Now, you can.
There's also there's also regular whistles where
yes.
if like my son played volleyball and there was somebody on his team and we were at a tournament, and I know there's a point to this. And so there was a break, and so we were just chit-chatting.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, so what kind of music do you like?" And he puffs up his chest and he goes, "I like Morgan Wallen." That was right after, like, he had gotten like kicked off of Saturday Night Live,
right?
You know, the whole thing. Yeah. So there's things that you say to say what you can't say, which I guess is a dog whistle, but it's something. It's yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it. I know what you're saying.
Thanks, Marty.
No problem.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen. So based on if I'm driving this car, which is a 1963 Plymouth Valiant, what does that say about me?
Oh, damn. That car. Now, that car today, conservatives drive it. In like 2 years, that's going to be like the Ford Bronco that liberals are spending way too much money on and giving a nice pastel color. And that's going to be a hipster car very soon. But right now, a conservative still drives that Plymouth.
What? My 1963 Plymouth?
Oh, no.
Wait, Marty, you have that?
Is that your ride out in LA?
Well, I might have bought it on Facebook Marketplace, but it also might need some work. But I bought it for $600, and it's super awesome. But
that's awesome. Congratulations.
It's in the shop because it doesn't have a floor right now. But when it has a floor and seat belts and brakes, brake pads, rotors, it's gonna be drivable. Is what it will be. Yeah. So that's going to be my California. That'll be my California car, Gary.
Sweet. You definitely need rotors.
Yeah. Shocks, suspension, steering.
A catalytic converter.
Yeah. Carburetor. But it was a deal. until it's not anymore. But yeah, so that's been my adventure. Angel has it.
Do you still have the Nissan 4Runner?
It was a GMC
Oh,
Envoy, 2006. It's still out in the East Coast because I just dumped like right before I moved out west, which isn't supposed to be permanent. I'm just here. I'm in a comedy club right now, folks. This is the beautiful tiered seating at the San Diego Comedy Club location of National Lampoon, the Yellow Door, which is a new comedy club in San Diego. You got to come check it out in the Gas Lamp district of San Diego. It's beautiful. I'm in the showroom right now. Shows every Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 8. Got to check it out. So yeah, my car's still on the East Coast in Maryland. I just put, like, right before I left, all these terrible things happened to the car that I had to get fixed. And then I left. Now I'm not driving the car. I was pulling out of a park. I always get the shittiest cars, Gary. So me getting the 63 Plymouth is actually this car, I think, actually has air conditioning. My 2006 Envoy doesn't even have working air conditioning. But I was pulling out of a parking space at Bethany Beach, and I was going to be coming back to Maryland to get on a plane to come here. And I'm pulling out of a parking space, and I'm in reverse, and then I can't go into drive. It just locks. The shifter locked, and I couldn't push the button in to shift into a gear. The shifter just stopped, and I'm stuck halfway out of a parking spot in a parking lot, unable to move. So no one can fix it. Everything's closed. So I get towed from Bethany Beach to Severna Park, Maryland, so I can get on a plane the next day, which is a 2-hour ride. So I drove with this nice gentleman in his tow truck for 2+ hours. We went on a road trip, me and tow truck driver. He was a very nice guy. His name was Josiah. Great guy. He had water. My mom got him a, what did she get him? I think it was like a soda. So she's like, oh, it was a Perrier. It was a Perrier. And Josiah, my mom, insisted on giving this Perrier to you. He's like, oh, it's very nice of her. Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy a Perrier.
For the record.
What?
That's the liberal brand of seltzer, Perrier.
Perrier is?
Yeah.
What's the conservative seltzer?
Oh, that's a good question.
Nothing. Hot water.
Well, I feel like White Claws are they're like the one universal in this world left. The conservatives and
everyone likes White Claw?
In the drinking crowd, I'd say so. Can't peg someone for that yet.
I find White Claw so interesting as an old person because when I was young, I mean, a White Claw was basically almost like a wine cooler, right? It was just like a grain alcohol, like a flavored grain alcohol drink. And they had those. They weren't cool. People weren't excited about drinking them. People would sort of drink them, I guess. It was like almost like a Bartles and James was like what a White Claw was. But the branding of it was two old men like sitting on a lawn drinking Bartles and James like a wine cooler. And then, and you'll appreciate this, Reese, because you're in advertising, someone decided to take the exact same product and make it into the coolest drink ever.
Yeah, I was going to say Talkward branding. They've done an incredible job.
I mean, young, sexy people are just drinking basically Bartles and James wine coolers like to their heart's content. And it's doing great. And
then in the non-alcoholic space, Liquid Death has taken over the world. And I mean, they're the darling of the advertising world. Everyone in the industry loves
I love Liquid Death. So cool. Those tall boy cans are very cool. And they keep on getting like in trouble at grocery stores and stuff, and places like won't stock them because it's like, oh, this is dangerous. Liquid Death. And they have a skull. And it's just water. It's just water in a cool can. And that's so funny. Do you guys have any awkward stories to tell me on the Talkward show? I always forget to ask people to tell me the awkward stories. We usually run out of time. Reese, you kind of touched on it, hanging out in graveyards in college.
Yeah, there was nothing awkward about that, though. That was fun. I think if I were to tell an awkward story from my life is a comedy of errors. So there's so many of them. But I feel like one podcast appropriate one and a moment I'll never forget is my first job out of college. I was working for an ad agency in the Camden Yards warehouse, actually. That's not relevant to the story, but I just love the O's. And
Love Camden Yards. I remember when Camden Yards got built because it used to be the old Memorial Stadium that I would go to, and it was crumbling. And then when Camden Yards got built, I was in middle school, and my teacher, Mr. Servek, was so excited. He was an O's guy and he was a Redskins guy. And when when Ripken had his streak, it was like all we talked about was the streak, and he would have like a number up on the chalkboard. But when Camden Yards opened, it was like a big deal, and we all went, and it was nice. It was a nice stadium. It's still nice.
I love that.
Boog's Barbecue. Is Boog's Barbecue still there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were there? The food is really, really. The new owner has just changed. It feels different. It looks different, but it's still the same. But there's like gourmet food, like tacos. Eki Ben is there.
Well, they always had good food. That was one of their big things. It was like they would bring local restaurant businesses, like a mini version, and then they would get to have, instead of it just being like Aramark vending, it was this good stuff in that, in that whole side area. There'd be like offerings of cool local eateries and stuff.
Yeah.
But and so anyways, so I was in Camden Yards. I love that place.
Oh yeah, back to Reese's thing. Go ahead, Reese.
There's a reason that I brought Camden Yards because since I lived in Baltimore and lived downtown, packages would get stolen all the time. So I got all my packages delivered to the office in Camden Yards because I'd be there at work for them. And usually that'd be daily life stuff. But one time I remember I needed to restock on underwear. And being a podcast listener, MeUndies was a company advertising in podcasts all the time. And I was like, all right, they seem to make a good product. Let's give it a shot. I ordered some and I emailed them, their customer service, before ordering it and said, hey, I get my mail delivered to work. And you guys have beautiful, bright branding, but it's also very obvious that it's underwear. And I would just rather not have that moment of being like, my underwear is here. And they're like, yeah, don't worry. We have like discreet packaging for this very reason. You'll be good. So then like a week later, I'm at work and got kind of not an open concept, but cubes everywhere, all my coworkers around me. And one of my superiors comes up to me and he says, Reese, I have good news and bad news. And I say, give me the bad news first. And he says, the bad news is the client didn't like your headlines. You have to start over. I was like, oh, fuck. But that's part of the job. Okay, what's the good news? And with this shit-eating grin, he looks at me and he's like, the good news is your underwear arrived. And he throws this like rainbow packaged, big, bright MeUndies labeled bag on my desk. And all my coworkers are looking at me and laughing. My face is purple. I'm trying to laugh it off, but I'm so embarrassed. And now I've worked from home for 6 years since.
Yeah, that'll leave a scar. That is embarrassing, getting mail like that.
That's my only bad memory in Camden Yards.
But it's good advertising for MeUndies because everybody at the office knew about MeUndies. We're talking about MeUndies now.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So if MeUndies is watching, we should be getting some free undies.
I hear it in podcasts all the time, and I was like, can we please just change the subject?
What's so special about the underpants, Reese? Are they made from some material that's amazing or something?
Yeah, I don't know what their blend is. They do feel good, but I will admit I've gone back to a cheaper brand. I don't have MeUndies kind of money anymore. I never did, but good advertising will sucker you to buy things that you can't afford all the time.
Wishful thinking. Yeah.
Anyways, that's my awkward story for today.
That qualifies. Gary, can you counter with a better story?
It's not better.
It's always a competition, Gary. Come on. This is comedy. Destroy him.
Like my go-to, well, that was awkward, is I was at work too. I was working in Boston at a publisher. I had just left my dream job. This at a different publisher in Boston that was like a Boston publisher. Like it was on Beacon Hill. They published law books. They published I guess I don't have one with at the ready. But those there was like, it was Little Brown, those red law books. So that an editor left and she said, Gary, you got to come with me. And so we went to another publisher. It was just bigger. You know, I had to sign out to go to the bathroom. There was a lunchtime and it was like out in a suburb of Boston. So I had to take a shuttle bus to get it. Just wasn't, and a lot of it just wasn't what I signed up for. So I was at that point where it's like, I'm quitting this job. But, you know, when you're, 24, you got to pay the rent and, you have to have a job.
Yeah.
So my job was taking calls from college professors and talking to them about college textbooks and then sending them sample books that they would consider for adoption in their class. So somebody called and says, yes, I'd like to order a book, please. And it just had that tone, and this woman sounded like a friend of mine. So I thought it was a prank call from my friend Beth. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, that's terrific. Tell me more. And then, where she's going through, and I'm like, well, this book is kind of a popular book. Like Beth would know this if, so we're talking about, the pedagogy of the book and blah, blah, blah. And finally, and I still think it's my friend Beth. And then finally she's like, well, is it hardcover or paperback? And I said, well, it comes in both, but the paperback ones are a lot easier to roll up and shove up your ass. And then she goes, oh. And then the woman goes, excuse me?
Oh my God, Gary, that's terrible.
The paperback ones are a lot easier to roll up and shove up your ass. And she's like, I don't know what just happened, and I said, Beth? And she's like, no. I'm like, come on, Beth, knock it off, Beth. She's like, look, this is Professor, and it was like some professor, Kansas State or Minnesota State, one of the states. And I said, I am really sorry. And then she starts laughing, and she's like, no, I get it. It's okay. It's all right. Does it really come in hardcover and paperback? And I said, I don't even know.
She should have been like, but what could I do with the hardcover, Gary? Yeah.
So it still became stale after that too? It was like good business at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I don't know if she adopted. No. That job was just, I don't know what was happening, but I mean, it was like customer service. There was a lot of shit I did that, just.
Was that one of those jobs, if this woman wasn't so cool about it and you got fired, you would have been like, whatever. I hated it.
I would have been like, oh, whatever. But
how much longer did you stay at that job after the
just a couple months. Yeah, a couple months. Yeah.
That's a good one. I think you do win, Gary.
Yeah, I think you win too, Gary. Gary wins. You get to have one of the small light up cocktail lights that are on the showroom floor here at the Yellow Door in San Diego, 701 Fifth Avenue.
Damn.
Come on down.
When's your grand opening, Marty?
Well, we've been opened for like 3 weeks. We've been doing shows. Oh. We've been doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 8. And we're doing a formal grand opening in September with like bigger names. So right now we've been doing kind of like smaller, local, just like showcase shows. So people from LA come down. So we do showcase shows. So it's usually like 4 comics and a host, or 5 comics and a host. But it's not the traditional like big name, semi big name, opening big name. Like it's and that's usually what a larger stand-up show would have that kind of dynamic. So we're starting those in September 20th and 21st are the 2 big show grand opening days. So if people want to come down to San Diego for one of the big, we don't have the name secured yet, so I can't tell you, but it's going to be big. But go to nlyellowdoor.com for tickets and information. Humorous Media is a partner in the comedy club chain, which sort of happened, and now it's kind of like all I'm doing. I just like live here at this comedy club until we can get an audience to come in all the time.
You're living someone's dream.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's exciting.
It's a beautiful space. Podcast listeners, rest assured, it's a great space.
It's real big. It's exciting. It's fun. It's fun being a part of something that's like also like a restaurant bar, because you can always get like free food. You know, like we have a menu of like appetizers or food items, and I always forget like, oh, I can just eat something for free. I can just be like, hey, can I get the steak tacos? And they'll just make it. Because I'm like a part owner of this business, they'll just make me food. And I always like feel bad. I'm like, is that? They're like, yeah, it's fine. But they have tots, which is good. You get loaded tots. That was the one thing that I insisted. I was like, we got to have really good tater tots. People love tater tots. So we have tots with dipping sauces or tots with these like toppings, and it's delicious. But especially they have like
club. I don't want to think while I eat. I want to pay attention to the comedy. So a finger food that's just mindless. That's perfect.
Yeah, definitely. And everything's pretty easy to eat. Like no fork and knife type food. It's all like, you can pick it up and shove it in your mouth. It's great. Shove it on in. But yeah, it's exciting. So for the book tour, where are you guys going for the book tour? Have we got any bookstores that are gonna have you guys do signing?
I haven't talked to Brian.
All right, one of you go.
I was gonna say I'm about to start my own book signing at Cheeseman Park here in Denver, like a lemonade stand. Not that there are no bookstores selling it yet.
Well, we have to get something, of a political type bookstore. Is it Politics and Prose? Is that a bookstore?
Oh yeah,
I love that place.
We did something with another book from Humorous Books. Bob Eckstein had a book. The Elements. We did the Elements of Stress. We did a thing with Politics and Prose. So they definitely have done stuff, and we did like a online book event with them. They do events, and we did books, and they sold books. So we should definitely try to do Politics and Prose, or any other bookstore you guys like in Baltimore or in Denver. We can try to do something. So let's set up some book signings. It's fun to do book signings, and then you can read from the book, and people will just laugh and laugh.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, shout out Tattered Cover and 32nd Ave Books. Those are two of my favorite bookstores in Denver. So I'll get them. Okay. I'll see if I can get in touch with them. And of course, Boulder Bookstore is my favorite bookstore in the world, but they're up a bit now from Denver.
Boulder Bookstore. Again, the book is called Red Tie, Blue Tie, How to Tell Whether Someone is Liberal or Conservative in Any Possible Scenario. Out now from Humorous Books. Gary M. Almeter and Reese Cassard. Thank you guys for coming on the Talkward. It's been eye-opening learning about each of you and your horrible Talkward stories.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think we all left a little dumber, which is
absolutely.
Thank you, Marty. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome, guys.
Enjoy the next 91 days.
Oh yeah, what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you guys like this Tim Walz?
I mean, personal opinion, I do. It's almost like he feels built in a lab, like this ex-football coach turned progressive liberal governor of a swing state. Like if you told me that was a thing and I hadn't previously known about him, I would have been like, good one.
I love that photo of him with the little piggy.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's so cute. He's like at some, I don't know if it's like a 4-H thing or some kind of it's like a fair. And he's just like smiling so genuinely happy. And he's holding like this little piglet. And it's adorable. And everyone around him is smiling. And photos of him like feeding school children. And he like fixes cars. And I don't know. Like this guy just seems he's too perfect. They're going to spend so much time trying to dig up dirt on this guy. And I'm sure that they're actively, like, there's probably private investigators trying to dig up stuff or doctor stuff or find anything, any shred of like horrible, gossipy kind of stuff out of this guy's life. And, who knows what they'll find. We all have skeletons. So I don't know. I don't know.
I saw his DUI mugshot already, but I mean, politicians have survived a lot worse. So we'll see.
I didn't even know about that. Look at that. Terrible.
That was 95, 94, 96.
Well, people love a redemption.
He is younger than Brad Pitt.
Oh, I know. I saw that. Can you believe that? And he made a joke like, well, I ran a school cafeteria for 20 years. You can't leave that job with hair. And that does seem true. It's very stressful.
Yeah. But you're right. It's just like, he goes duck hunting. He goes to, gay rights dinners. He feeds pigs. He feeds children. Like, it's just, yeah.
I'm no better than to make a prediction, but I will say, despite the scariness of the moment, I am excited. It feels like there's some energy and a lot more than I was a month ago. So
I will make a prediction, and that is that they will get Steve Martin to play him on SNL. I hope.
That would be good.
I hope, because they're going to have Maya Rudolph definitely play Kamala. So I think if they had Steve Martin, I think it would be great. And then they also had Martin Short play Kamala's husband, I think, in previous seasons of SNL. So that would be so fun if they already had Martin Short and Steve Martin. They would just need to get the rest of the cast of Only Murders in the Building, and we could just make that Only Murders in the Building on SNL. So
I'd watch it.
I would definitely watch that.
All right. Well, this is it. Thanks a lot, Marty. I mean, this has been fun. I appreciate.
I can't remember the girl's name on It's Only the Murders in the Building. What was her name?
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez. It was killing me. I couldn't think of it when I needed it. Selena Gomez. Such a good show. All right, that's the end of the podcast.
Marty, go get yourself some steak tacos.
Hey, thanks for listening. You've been listening to Talkward. I am Marty Dundix. Come join us next time. Subscribe at Talkward Podcast and listen to us on all the different platforms. And go buy this book, Red Tie, Blue Tie, How to Tell Whether Someone is Liberal or Conservative in Any Possible Scenario. Thank you to my guests, Gary Almeter and Reese Cassard. Okay, bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.